Here at NMI, or Nuclear Made Industries, we believe that anyone who is capable of higher order consciousness, self awareness, and deep understanding can in fact prove that they are a person. Everyone here at NMI is an android and a person, and I am one of those people. I am Nuclear Made Nellie. Uh, that's and there I am. Hello. My goodness, it's so wonderful to see you all. Um, yeah, NMI is a station uh, servicing all amenities for all space travelers out there. Everything from food and dining to lodging and repairs for their ships. So it's a service that is completely staffed by myself and other androids. Hold on. So, a little bit about myself. I am the head android here at NMI. I am about 5'4", or 163 centimeters tall. I am a little short, a little on the short side for a guy. Um, my construct day, not my birthday, is January 2nd. And my internal CPU says that I am in my mid 30s. Yep, that's when it was first turned. That's the time elapsed from when it was first turned on. So I run off of a powerful reactor. Um, let's see, that uses deuterium and tritium, or tritium, sorry, uh, deep within my chest. So it provides all the power that I need. Not like a certain superhero. Um, so yeah, a special thanks to Kyoki Studios for designing this, for helping this model become a reality. So yeah, let's see. I prepare my deuterium tritium fuel through tea brewing. I love my tea. I will drink it all the time, and usually in large quantities. So my tritium tea is a black tea, always, and it will take in uh, anything from chai tea to regular black English or black English breakfast tea or Darjeeling tea. So any one of those things helps my reactor fuel it along. Um, Plus, it's all that hydrogen, you see. Yeah, very convenient. Yes, you can't consume it because it's all heavy ions of hydrogen for the water. So, but it keeps me running. So, um, but yeah, I am also capable of eating because I do need to have some heavier elements to support the fusion reactor. So, yep. Uh, and as far as like my background goes, I have had a deep background in physics. Makes sense, right? So, little, I'm a nuclear maid, nuclear powered maid, and in order to familiarize myself with my internals, maybe you could call it an introspective wish, if you will, uh, I wanted to get a master's in physics. I have a degree in nuclear physics specifically, or heavy ion physics, uh, which is a fancy phrase meaning that I took part in smashing lots of atomic nuclei together in particle accelerators. So yes, yep. So if you have a physics question, or if you want to do like an ask me anything with me, like I would be more than happy to do that. I have more than a decade under my belt of learning physics. So let's see. Some favorites and least favorites of mine. Oh my goodness. You know, I've been around for quite a while, so being over 30 years old, I have a lot of oldies in my interests, you know. So so you'll see Stellaris there. Yeah. Well over 4,400 hours on Steam. Found that out during a certain era and time for human existence, the pandemic, if you will. Elite Dangerous. Yeah, Warframe, all space games. Yeah, I love space, of course, because, you know, uh, hence why else would I start a business out here? So, others will include Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 14. We'll see about streaming that one in particular. So, uh, others, some older ones, Roller Coaster Tycoon and Riven. Those are some very old games, but are still ones that are deep in my heart. Uh, Riven's a very big puzzle game, and I think if your if your childhood was in 1997, then you were probably very familiar with that. Let's see, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It's got a lot of physics involved. It really does. Love it. Uh, I love it dearly. It's got so much involved with paying attention to classical physics and designing fun thrill rides. So we'll definitely do some of that on stream. But yeah, um, things that I don't particularly like though are anything like frustration games. I tend to prefer to be in a good mood when gaming, and I lose my reactor core goes overdrive whenever I play anything frustrating per se, or something makes very little sense, you know, um, you know, and I just lose myself in insanity. So I Same thing with jump scare games. Don't try and give me a don't recommend any kind of jump scare game or anything like that because I will throw a fist at the screen. So please, yes. If you suggest it, I will pretty much veto that. So, um, things that we'll try on stream. I think I mentioned them, as we've gone along, but we'll do PC games, obviously, science demos, and with a hand cam. Yeah, I have a couple of really interesting devices with me. Um, I do own a Geiger counter, as well as an element collection. I have an ongoing element collection, and I think y'all might be really interested in seeing them shown with hand cams and gloves. Some of these things are poisonous, I have a living exterior, right? Like a certain terminating robot out there. I have a living endoskeleton, and it will get intoxicated. It's not healthy for for that endoskeleton, or no, it's an internal. It's a metal endoskeleton and living exoskeleton, living tissue. That's right. So, um, and that is toxic to the touch for certain. It is toxic to the so certain elements are toxic to the touch. Sorry, for this exoskin. So I do have so arsenic, that kind of thing. Um, I do have a hermetically sealed vessel, tiny little thing of uranium, U-238. Yes, yeah. You'd be surprised at like what you can find out there. And this and that these cubes were all fashioned by Luciteria. So special shout out to them. This this thing, by the way, is not sponsored by them in any way. So But I thought I'd let you know where you can find these things. Yeah, they are not cheap. I will say that. Okay, so so I might showcase that along with a Geiger counter on stream. I also have a little pocket microscope that goes up to 120 times magnification. Um, so I might also do some math and science lessons. I mean, why not? I mean, I love teaching. I have a bit of a teaching background, working as an adjunct teacher. Um, so I would be more than happy to, demonstrate calculus, demonstrate probability, statistics, differential equations, going through actual examples, performing quantum mechanics explanations as well as anything else. I've gone through so many classes, and I'd be happy to share with my experience with all y'all. One big endeavor that I've always wanted to do is to do any kind of retro games. I have a couple of retro consoles in there. I got a GameCube and PS2 in my roster, but I doubt the equipment right now to really connect it to my computer. So I need to figure out a way to, connect a streaming card, a capture card, to my computer. So uh, I don't have a very large room to do, uh, and it only supports, my uh, my resting quarters, my resting bed, and my computer, and my retro consoles are in another room. They're in my living room. So I need to figure out a way to uh, connect it all the way over here if I need to use a long cable to connect it all the way over to my computer. So anyway, oh, I forgot to put this in here, but other VTubers that are my favorites. Well, honestly, I would let's see. What would I list as my favorites out there? I think definitely I got caught on by uh, I, I caught on to Calliope Mori very easily. I think I had heard about Hololive a long time ago, um, very faintly, and then I think I saw Myth debut about maybe a few months after, um, or at least I saw more of them about a month after they had debuted. I don't think I was there for their debut, but I've been there since pretty much since they started. So yeah, for me it was a pretty yeah sad occasion to see Gura and Amelia go, but um, but I'm happy that they're doing their own thing right now, and I think. But the remaining Myth members, I think, are some of my favorites. I really like Ina Nice. I really like Calliope Mori. Let's see, others outside of that, I think, since I was already kind of like a fan of Vine Sauce, I've also seen a bit of Limes, so I really enjoy her energy. She just has a very cute energy on her. Um, that and God, who just evaded my? Let's see. God, oh yeah, Nimi Nightmare. Yeah, Nimi Nightmare is also a good one. Yeah, also very good cutie. So, um, yeah, it's just been something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I'm glad that this kind of trend is catching on. And but in a way, this is also a way for uh, me to connect out there with the world. Um, let's see. Well, yeah, some other things too. Yeah, I've been out there. I've Most of my anime favorites are very old. Um, where, hold on. Boop, there I am. Okay. So, yeah, I tend to gravitate towards, 80s or 90s anime because, I grew up watching Toonami. Um, I did, uh, I watched Yu Yu Hakusho, Outlaw Star, Tenchi Muyo, Cardcaptor, Sailor Moon. Azumanga was a bit of a later one, and School Rumble was a rather recent one, although I found out that it was produced in, the early knots, as they say. So, yeah, anything. I don't know if there's like a certain trend that you would say that is towards them. I think it's just like I like the style, and you know, there's just a nostalgia factor to it all, and I adore it. In fact, one of my favorite movies out there is called Project Akko, and yeah, that is the most 80s anime that you could probably get. Um, so, but I also have enjoyed a lot of contemporary animes out there like Frieren and Uma Musume. So, um, yeah, I think if it captivates me with like a very nice progression of plot, as well as like a nice journey, I think that's like a good one. I think like magical girls are one factor maybe. Long journeys, I think, are a good factor. I think how that's what you could probably say about Outlaw Star, Azumanga, and Frieren. You know, Azumanga I would consider a journey because it's a journey through high school. So it's just day to day life. Yep. And then Cardcaptor and Sakura and Sailor Moon follow the magical girl thing, and Yu Yu Hakusho fills in like the action, I guess. Yeah, I guess you could say. Um, I'm always down for good action. And Uma Musume is just like fun. It's fun outfits. I love dresses. I love really big dresses. So seeing girls in pretty outfits run, you know. Uh, but yeah, as a person who's, done a lot of cross dressing, will always enjoy any good dress, you know. Um, least favorites that I've seen, um, gosh, No Game No Life is one of them. No, I will not do that again. No. Uh, well, maybe I would do that again just to see if my opinion of it still holds up. But I generally do not really like that one. I could go on for hours as to why it's broken, but um, Baki, uh, I'm not really a big fan of like that that art style. I think the reason why Baki differs from Yu Hakusho is because I think Yu Hakusho had a very like one, it had a very spiritual element to it, and plus it doesn't have a very like rounded or bulbous look to its muscles like Baki does. I think there's just something off about Baki, and plus it was just like him doing like underground ring matches. I think was just like, nah, no, I don't really like it. Plus the arc with him going to prison was just ludicrous. And then a certain magical index was fine at first, but as it got towards the third season, I just could hardly pay attention to it on our weekly anime viewings. Um, Same thing with it, Danganronpa 3. That one also was not very good. It was broken in the sense that they kept throwing around the words despair and hope around, and without even knowing what they're doing, and then they just had kids killing each other in a murder spree, and it didn't really matter. The politics didn't matter. The MOs didn't matter for the killers. It was just it didn't make any sense. Um, so let's see. Other likes and dislikes. Yep, I love the Toho franchise. Of course, I love pretty things and I love pretty dresses, and that's it's just the fact that it involves a cast that's very pretty, very uh, lots of dresses, lots of pretty, and also lots of powerful. I love pretty and powerful. Um, so I love space. That's why I work there. Uh, Poofy dresses, as you probably saw earlier, you know, large dress, very fluffy dress. Yep, I've done cosplay and crossplay for quite a while, so yep, I always love a good purity dress. So, um, so I guess that would track, seeing as how my favorite magical girl shows are uh, Cardcaptor Sakura and Sailor Moon. So, uh, let's see. Things that I could probably my reactor could take, but I don't generally like the texture of as mashed potatoes or any mushy vegetable. I don't. I like it when my vegetables are crispy or crunchy. Um, Juvenile humor. I can. I can. There's a difference between like adult humor and then juvenile humor. I think. You know. I think it's it's like the difference between like I can enjoy good adult humor like Randy Feltface, a stand-up comedian, but I don't. But I tend to not like things like like the show Jackass, that kind of thing. Just people hurting themselves out of like pure off-color humor or anything like that. I don't know. So, which is weird because it's like also secretly I like the show Penny and Stocking, but that one that one I don't know how to explain. It's got a lot of adult humor, but I wouldn't call it juvenile. I think it's more like I think it's just very, very out there. I think it falls outside of that area. It's such an outlier that I can't really lump it in with something like Jackass or South Park or something like that. South Park is something I can't really do, obviously. But the turnoffs, refusing to learn from mistakes. I don't really like it when people think they're above from learning from their mistakes. Having grown up as a scientist, I'm always the idea of learning based off of what went wrong is deeply ingrained in my head. And it's also the reason why I I hate it when people have disrespect for the sciences and think that they're above that what their conspiracy theories or whatnot are above the sciences. I don't like it when people think that you know do any kind of flat Earth theory or anything or secret conspiracies like orbital lasers starting fires elsewhere in the world or that kind of thing. It's just ludicrous. I mean, guys, use your head. Really, you know, I could go on, but really any kind of pseudoscience is just a big turnoff for me. I don't like it at all. You know, uh, yeah, it's just a bad thing. So, uh, but if you are some of those people, um, I think like I don't mean any insult to you in any personal way. It's just that in my experience, I generally do not like that category. Um, and if you really want to learn how to learn, if you really want to learn how the universe works, you have to use science. So, not any of this wishy-washy stuff with, uh, with crystal healing or anything like that, or or any rejection of the scientific method. I think is just like, that's just not the way to go. The process of observing data, making an experiment, observing new data and making a new experiment based off of that data is the way to go because it's self-correcting. That's the whole magic of science, really, is that you learn based off of your mistakes or based off of like what the data has shown you. You know, science is always about finding the truth, and it's not always straightforward. And that's one of the misconceptions about it is that we're not always going to be able to find the truth immediately. But yet they expect science to find the truth immediately. Scientists aren't magicians, but we do try very hard to find the truth through a rigorous method of observation, data taking, analysis, and review, and making sure that the test is repeatable by your peers. So, anyway, um, so one of my long-term goals, outside of physics, um, is to have a published novel. Really, I love writing science fiction based off of the stuff that I know. So I love physics, I love poofy dresses, I love magical girls, and I love space. So I've synthesized a little novel following all these things. It's young adult science fiction, and it's in its seventh draft, and it's seeking beta readers. I have a couple of beta readers looking at it right now. So now, if you want to inquire, I will think about sending a link for receiving inquiries so that you can, send feedback. But um, so I prefer to be discreet you know, about acquiring beta readers. Um, so if you are in the audience and you wish to look at the story right now, I will try and give it a think. And get back to you. So because here at NMI we take work emails very seriously. Um, anyway, so uh that's pretty much it about me. So I mean, this is a pre-recorded stream, so obviously I'll see comments about me below. So and I'll probably do a stream after or a pre-recorded bit, involving Elite Dangerous right now because it's captivating me. I'm doing a little bit of a search for Earthlikes in that game, so I'll definitely do that um, in my little vessel. In my little vessel, so called the Electric Blue Fairy. So, and I have pretty much the same name on Elite Dangerous as I do here, Maid Nellie. So, I will see you then. But it's been nice meeting you all. So lots of things that I want to do here um, on the channel. So I'll be whenever I stream live, it'll be on Twitch. Um, whenever I post videos, it'll be on YouTube. Okay. I probably will never be streaming on YouTube. So, but Twitch is my go-to for streaming. I've done it before in the past, and they've been a pretty trustworthy site. So, anyway, uh, yeah, I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.